And joining us now here during this Women's History Month, we are pleased to have with us Heather Hampton Nodal. She's an Illinois farmer and the president of American Agri Women. And we're talking about women in agriculture here during the month of March. And Heather, we appreciate a little bit of your time and thank you so much for being on the show here today. We really appreciate it. How are you?
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. And I think, like every farmer in the middle of March, also thinking about everything we've got to get done to be able to pull in the field seamlessly.
I think you are exactly spot on. You know, some folks still have snow cover, but a lot of folks that snow has melted away and we're really thinking about getting spring planting going here very, very soon across the country. I want to talk to you. I know you mentioned a tidbit to me. You were out on the farm earlier this morning, and I think that is a great segue into talking about the role of women in agriculture. And during this Women's History Month, I want to just start. Let's first talk about the history side of women in agriculture. How can you best describe where we've come from in terms of the role of women in ag and on the farm and how things have gone over time?
Well, I think it's best summed up by, in terms of on the farm and on the ranch, women have almost always been equal partners in that work. Whatever needs to be done, many hands make light work, right?
Hmm.
But just seeing this evolution, well, American Agri Women, for example, was formed officially in 1974. And it came to be because women and, quite frankly, their spouses at the time said, we have more to offer than just bringing the potluck to the men's meeting. We think we too have a voice in policy making, for example, or in consumer education and conversations going beyond just samples in a grocery store. And from that, the American Agri Women came to be to provide an opportunity for women to network, to get educated about each
Hmm.
other's commodities and backgrounds and regions. But then what we've seen happening over time, and especially in the last 15 years, I think this has really accelerated, is that extending from beyond the production level, we're seeing many more women in roles like certified crop advisors, right? So they're agronomists and they're helping us be even smarter about how we apply things like pesticides or how we um, choose particular seeds and make soil
Hmm.
amendments. We're seeing many more women in the finance sector, loan officers and beyond, in executive level management. We see them in marketing and food companies with leadership and development and training, and also, again, the marketing side, commodity purchasing, commodity brokers. It's really been just exciting to walk alongside, not to say replacing males, but there's enough work to go around. And as you know, jobs in agriculture are, people are in demand if you can bring that background and be good at what you do.
Oh
So
yeah,
it's
100.
just good.
Yeah. 100%. And I think you answered what my next question was going to be because you mentioned how for forever, women have walked alongside the men and been an integral part of the farm and ranch operation and roles throughout agriculture. Really, as you said, the last 15 years or so, women seem to be way more front and center. They almost feel like the face of the operation in many cases, or whether they're in the financial sector or marketing, etc. They're really, in the last 10 to 15 years, have taken on an even bigger role, it feels like, which is great to see.
Yes, I'm glad you pointed that out because we've also seen in this era the explosion of social media. So
Yes.
that provides this immediate way to connect to many more people beyond just a one-on-one conversation or talking to the Rotary Club, for example, which I did last month in February. But it has allowed women to be that voice and apply their creative abilities as well as their communicative abilities and just be there to have conversations with people and hopefully build understanding and through that build trust in what we're doing.
How do you see the evolution of agriculture as a whole? Obviously, we've seen, especially the last even couple years, a big evolution with precision ag and things like that. but just agriculture evolving more and more, and the role that women are playing as we head into the future is, we've kind of discussed already, becoming more and more involved. You mentioned, we're seeing a lot more agronomists who are women, things like that. So talk about where you think just the evolution of agriculture is going and how women are going to play a role in that.
Well, agriculture itself is not only poised, it has been addressing some of our world's most pressing problems. So we ask ourselves, how will we feed this growing population that is doubling by 2050? I mean, it's very real. So we're seeing more women in science and research. So at the lab bench, trying to figure out how they can help the microRNA in a soybean kind of accelerate or bypass or become more efficient at how it captures carbon dioxide and converts it into oxygen. That's a key issue as we look
Mhm.
at changing climate or dealing the ability to deal with climate extremes. We have a lot more on the research front. I think women will continue to, again, bring that creativity, bring a, well, why don't we try it this way approach, and the detail and working in teams to that environment. We definitely see a need in the finance sector. As you know, you mentioned precision agriculture,
Mhm.
and on our farm, we try to deploy what we can, but everything comes with a price tag. So I think it's wonderful as we see women and men in the finance sector trying to figure out how can we help make that happen, but do it in a way that's also socially sustainable so we can still have, instead of fewer farmers farming the land, more farmers, or at least maintain who we have today so they can be capable and able to continue to make improvements, right? And apply technology in a way that makes sense for all of us, including their bottom lines and our bottom lines, every farmer's bottom line, as well as for the environment and every other reason we need to be deploying precision technology. Um, I just see women walking alongside and leading in many cases when we look at organizations. And I see women like American Agri Women, for example.
Mhm.
We're leading in conversations related to Farm Bill, for example, or other topics that maybe some other agriculture groups don't have front and center. It's not their top priority because it's not a single commodity, but it is a broader umbrella type topic like Endangered Species Act, um, or access to critical minerals so we can build the technology we need. Those are things that American Agri-Women leads in that space. And I think you're going to continue to see women leading in other businesses and industries that support solving the world's food, fiber, and fuel problems. Where agriculture is there and women are right there at the forefront.
Well, Heather, great thoughts. You mentioned a little bit about the American Agri Women. Just tell us a little bit more again about your role as president, and then how women in ag can become more involved with American Agri Women, and or should be involved with the organization.
Well, I hope they'll join through AmericanAgriWomen.org, the website. People can just join online and become a member. We do have member concierge who will then reach out and say, hey, what's your interest in agriculture? So we can try to make sure we let you know what events or opportunities might be coming up that might pique your interest, or maybe introduce you to other members across the country who share a similar interest. Um, we have events that they can engage in, and there are some scholarships for first timers to participate in things like our fly in to Washington, D.C., which is in early June. Prior to that, we have mid-year coming up. This year it's in Nashville, Tennessee, and that will be in April. But at mid-year, we work on our position statements overall to make sure, kind of philosophically, where do we stand and why do we stand there? So that can inform where we want to be on bills and regulations as those things evolve. We have some training opportunities, some webinars. Um, Recently, we hosted a webinar on a secure food supply equals national security. So we dove more deeply into issues related to land use and land control, uh, and ownership issues, and what that means for long-term availability of that land for farming, as well as how landowners need to be aware when they're approached for contracts. But it also applies to our food supply as well. So we have that webinar as an example of where people could get more information that they may not receive through other sources. We have leadership development coming up and more leadership opportunities. We're hoping to pull together an event in August in the Western states to invite women from any agriculture, farm, ranching, agribusiness. That's the beauty of the membership within American AgriWomen, because we have such a nice mix or diverse portfolio, you might say, of women from different backgrounds.
A lot of ways to get involved. AmericanAgriWomen.org is how you can find more information. And we appreciate time here today with Heather Hampton Nodal. She's the president of American AgriWomen. Heather, thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to talking to you again in the future.
Thank you. I appreciate it.